And we're live. Yay.
Better than being dead.
That's right. And for those of you that don't know, my dear friend, Mr. Christopher, I think that says it all. The humor in your world, Chris, it's always a pleasure. And as we were waiting to connect, I got a couple jokes and a couple other things that came through our chat. And I thought, I'm going to have you in the waiting room more often. This can be fun. So if you, so if I'm ever in a holding tank in any way, I'll make sure to call you.
Hey, look, it's morning here in Australia, and I wake up pretty happy. I don't know.
Oh,
I just do.
yay. Wow. And, let me just, I guess, introduce you to people that may not know you, Chris. You are an Access Conscious facilitator. You're also one of the leads or the lead for the specialty class of The Right Voice for You that I have the honor to facilitate in many parts of the world as well. And you have this incredible gift of coming up with these topics in that really open up this invitation for us to look at what's even showing up in our own lives. And the title for our conversation today is, do you want to say it? I think you have
Yeah,
it more
it's you create miracles, but does anybody know about it?
perfect with
Well,
that face. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, some of you out there listening on YouTube and different places, you may have just like put your toes into the pool of access consciousness. And some of you have been like Sylvia and I around for a long time and use these tools daily and have created a big life using these tools and with access consciousness. And what I've noticed for so many of us, we access consciousness attracts a certain kind of person. We are unbelievably creative. We
Mm.
can come up with all these ideas and all these projects and all these different possibilities. And then when it comes to like telling people about it and engaging with the world, we go, no. Like we are the lone wolves of consciousness, it would seem. And I think it's a bit of a shame because we deprive the world of these miraculous, magical, phenomenal creations.
Yeah. And it's interesting because for so long, and I still catch myself now is okay, what's next? What's next? And I rarely take the moment, or I have to really be aware to acknowledge what I have created. So when you said, do you create miracles? And does anybody know about them? It's almost like I got to let myself, I got to remind myself of what I'm creating as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that
And
acknowledgement. Yeah.
exactly. Stop and acknowledge and sometimes look back and go, whoa. Like even, do you ever stop and think about what your life was like a year ago or even 6 months ago and look at where it is now and go, whoa, I've progressed and grown and changed so much in that time.
Yeah.
And that's all on you. That's what you, and not just you, Sylvia, but everyone out there listening, that's what you got to stop and go, wow, I'm actually really fucking cool. And why do I play shy instead of letting everyone know about it?
Yeah. It's interesting. I have one of my sisters who's been actively starting to take more access classes and going live and,
I met
really
her.
enjoying. You did, yes. And so she was just in Mexico City for the very first time in the opening symphony class. And what she gifts and receives with bodies, it's so beautiful to see. And she is one that I've seen that is starting to let people know about it. And it's so fun to witness that when people begin to acknowledge it and receive it for themselves, and then the world begins to see it. But
Mm.
can you speak, Chris, a little about that space of, where we're holding back showing or sharing or exposing the miracles we create because of what people will say, how it'll be
Mm.
received?
Yeah. Well, we grew up, most of all of us basically grew up in a world where you're not supposed to blow your own horn. You're not supposed to even like yourself that much. And people are terrified of being seen and heard. There's a great quote from Jerry Seinfeld from one of the episodes of Seinfeld. I can't remember the scene exactly, but I think it was him and Elaine are in the audience at the funeral. And they're talking about fears and whether you're afraid of dying. And they were talking about how the number one fear, and I've checked this is apparently true according to statistics. The number one fear that people have is public speaking. It's not death, it's not falling from a great height, it's public speaking. And in the scene, Jerry Seinfeld
Mhm.
goes, "So do you mean at a funeral, more people would rather be in the coffin than delivering the eulogy?" And that's basically it. We are terrified of being seen because we think the judgment that is going to be directed at us will be insurmountable and we won't be able to handle it. You taught me in a class we co facilitated in Noosa, Australia, a few years ago. You taught me the gift and ease of receiving judgment with just woof, no barriers and no point of view. And that is one of the most pragmatic right voice tools that I keep going back to.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that exercise where we talk about dropping the barriers and receiving and noticing the distant difference really when we're blocking that receiving. I mean, now when I practice that, it's hard. It's hard on my body. And I wonder, how many people with maybe even body pains and different things, how much it has to do with what they're blocking receiving. Um, it's so funny, Chris. I remember I was up on stage opening up a big, big class we had in Puerto Vallarta, hundreds and hundreds of people. No, actually, it was Brazil, where we had, I think, over 1,000 or close to 1,000. But I remember being up there, and I don't know if I ever told you the story, but I was going up the steps, and my heel got caught on the steps. And I literally like went to go tumble and then caught myself and then stood up and then went up to the mic. And in that moment, the first thing I said, well, that's one way to start. Like, that's one way. Like, how many other ways can I start, opening up? But I had someone in the audience that approached me later. It's like, Sylvia, how did you do that? Like, how did you just like roll through that and then show up? And one of the things that I've learned too is that if I can laugh at myself, and this is one of the gifts I've seen with Right Voice for You, that if I can laugh at myself and have that ease, there's an energy that then everybody else can receive from that too. Of it's not about getting it perfect, but that
Mm,
willingness to keep going. And with Right Voice for You, that is, I would say, one of the big invitations, right? Receiving the judgment with no point of view, not having to get it perfect. Um, you know,
yeah.
Yeah. It was just
And
one other thing. As we're saying that, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
saying and like those things you outlined are so core to right voice, but also just like letting the world have the gift of you.
Mm,
Stop hiding it away in your living room, but actually get out there and engage with the world and let people have what you have that is different.
wow. Yeah.
We think, we're told that that would be so wrong and so conceited and selfish and arrogant and all these like negative connotations there are to being out there and being seen. But what if what you have to offer is actually a gift and a nourishment of
Mm,
the world around you?
wow. For all of you listening, I know we might have a large Spanish speaking group and we'll see if we can get this translated because
Hola.
this is Chris is going to be in Mexico, has been in Mexico and really out through Latin America. So we're so happy to have you out, really, like the gift of you. It really is that. I mean, I've gotten to see you show up more and more. And when you are being you, like that gift and humor and ease, it's, you're right, it is a gift and an invitation. I mean, the humor that I've had since the moment we connected online before here, there is this bubbling joy in my world. And it's like, so everybody watching, like, what is it that you bring to the world that if you weren't hiding would allow someone else to tap into that? Yeah, I'm so grateful for that. So,
Me too. I'm so grateful for you. I love watching what you create in the world. And as like, I remember the Sylvia I met many years ago, and there was always this bright, beautiful spark of a being there. And the more you have just taken these tools and stepped into so much more of that, and it is such a joy to watch.
mm, thank you. Thank you, Chris. And it's interesting, that moment for all of us, wherever you are in your life. But if you look, just 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You're right. It is an entire different world. And I keep asking, what else is possible? Because as crazy as it seems, I still get that I'm hiding. I still get that I'm holding back what I could, perhaps be out in the world or share.
But that's the thing, right? Like people look at that and they go, I could be so much more. And
Mhm.
they only look at what they're not choosing yet and
Yeah,
forget that part that you already talked about, the acknowledgement of how far you've already come and what a
yeah.
gift that is. Um, and to me, that whole idea that you're talking about, that there's more available, that's
Mhm.
the greatest gift. That is the adventure of living,
Yeah.
where there's more to choose and more to step into and more to claim and more to discover. And thank God that we will never be done. We will never arrive at this point of going, I am complete. And the for most of us who throughout our lives have been on that search for
Mm.
something more, so many of the things that I was looking at, whether it was Buddhism or witchcraft or Christianity or any of the new age things, the trap that I see most of them fall into is there's this idea that there's a final destination, that you're
Mhm.
going to achieve enlightenment or this completeness of being. You're complete now.
Yeah.
And there's more available because we are infinite and there's more to choose always.
I gotta say that's what makes life worth living. I was like, wow, what
Yeah.
else? And and also, I if you could also maybe add a little. One of the things that I appreciate about Right Voice for You and all the tools that it brings, that it's not just your voice and singing, which is oftentimes what people connect Right Voice for You. But what I've seen in different classes is where people start to expose sometimes to this themselves, their different abilities and capacities, and the different mediums that they get to express their voice through. Um, yeah.
And that could be, yes, you're right. It could be anything. It could be cooking. It could be how you put together an outfit in the morning. It could be like how you engage with the world around you. Like I am a talker. I like to talk to people. And what I used to think I was shy, which anyone who knows me is like,
Right.
you're not shy. And the more and I know Right Voice has been such a huge part of this. The more I like step out of my shell, the more the world has to offer me. Like I actually did train as a singer for 20 years and I stopped. And recently I went, no, I really miss it. And my body misses it. To me, singing is part of our body's way of expressing joy. And I went, okay, let's start singing again. And I asked for a coach to show up because I was like, I actually want to like do this. So let's find someone that I can sing with regularly every week that can get me back up to where I know I can be with singing. I went, all right, let's find a singing coach. The next day, Sylvia, I left my apartment through that door over there,
Yeah.
was walking to the elevator, and my neighbor, who I've never met, was walking at the same time. And me, being the talker that I am, I went, hey, how's it going? My name's Chris. I live in 110. Where do you live? What's going on? How's it going? What do you do? Guess what he does?
No.
He's a singing coach at the university. And I was like, thank you, universe. That was fast
Yes.
and convenient, right?
Wow. Wow. And yet, part of what we're saying, you create miracles, but does anybody know it? Is that simple as that? You've stepped out of your house, one, and then you
Mm.
engaged with someone in the elevator, which is almost a no out in the world.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Oh God.
wow.
Then some people can't handle it. Some people, because I'm that guy at a restaurant who's like talking to the table next to me, going, "What are you having? Is it good? Are you liking that?" And some people they're just like, "Who is this strange man talking to me?" And then sometimes you make friends, you discover things, you allow the universe to reach you to start delivering the things you're asking for.
Mhm.
Years ago, I was complaining to a friend that I was bored of being single and I wanted to meet someone. And she said, well, you don't leave your living room that often. And I was like, I say I want this thing, but am I actually doing the things that would allow me to have it? And so you've got to get out into the world and live. And that's to me what Right Voice is actually about. It's not
Mhm.
about refining a technique so that you know how to speak to people. It's about getting you willing to be vulnerable enough to receive by showing up in the world, warts and all.
Yeah. And I gotta say, that is a beautiful thing to witness when you have, we get to play with coming up in front of a group of people or the stage or microphones where, all this stuff comes up. But once people let those barriers down, it is the most beautiful thing to witness, like the joy in their body, their joy in their presence. Then you can't get them off, right? But it's like they find that play and that joy in showing up and being seen where it really doesn't matter like what's going
Mm.
on, It's just like, I just wanted to, yeah, let you
You're,
know about
you're
this.
so correct. You're so correct. Receiving is addictive, and that's what they find out.
Yes. Ooh,
They
say
find
that
out,
again.
oh,
Meme.
yeah, receiving is addictive. They find out like, oh, I can just like be up here and no one hates me. Everyone is like appreciative of what I'm being, and this feels great. It's an acknowledgement that we rarely allow ourselves to have.
Yeah. And with that acknowledgement, it's funny. I'm just going to share, as Chris and I were messaging back and forth, we had to wait for a couple of codes and passwords to come through. But he said, "You are pretty awesome," because that's pretty and awesome. I mean, I sent him a gift saying, "Well, facts are facts." But that, playing with that, the reason I'm bringing it up because it's this part of receiving. Like, how many of us either receive someone saying something and we go to like refuse it, but to go, oh, thanks for noticing, and not making it right or wrong or true, but playing with it. It was
Mm.
such a fun energy. Like, so can you speak of that too? Because I think that's such a, I don't know if it's a culture thing or just a world thing, but that receiving when someone acknowledges something in you, what we do to retaliate or to, yeah.
Yeah. What we're taught as a culture, and I mean, not like Western world, Eastern world, whatever. I mean, the culture of people on the planet is when someone compliments you, what the we're taught to do is collapse.
Yeah.
And instead of going, gosh, thanks, yeah, we go, oh no, 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 no. And even when it's like false modesty,
Yes,
we
that.
we think if we receive a compliment, it will be judgment, it will be self-aggrandizement, and it will be this superiority of I'm better than others then.
Yes.
Instead of going, yeah, you know what? I am great. I'm cool. I'm a gift and I like me. And that doesn't mean anyone else has to have less.
Yeah. That. I would love for all of us to have more of that, to just have it and it, because I for a long time had that as my reality, and what was true is that if in any way that I was happy or felt great or whatever it was, that meant someone else wasn't or someone else was less.
Yeah.
So to finally have stepped in, it's like, hey, I'm gonna have it. And if just as a possibility that it's available, if anybody else would, that's been different. And I just, it's not about the right way or the wrong way, but imagine what a world would be like if more of us just really got, yeah, I'm great. And it doesn't mean anything other than I'm great.
And when like that thing we're taught to like collapse
Yeah.
because we're taking the attention or the limelight from other people, that locks into existence the lie of scarcity, that there's not enough.
Mm.
As though if I was great, someone else couldn't be as great.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Like I
Wow.
stopped singing because I decided that I was never going to be as great as I wanted to be. So I went over it, move on. And
Mhm.
I've done that with so many different paths in my life where I went, I really like this, but I'm not the best. I'm not Pavarotti. I'm not as excellent as I think you should be. So I gave up the joy of it and realized, gosh, that was stupid.
Yeah.
Like, cute, but sometimes I'm really dumb because I let go of something that was such a gift to me
Mm.
and also other people. Was I the best on the planet at it? Mm, that's that's a judgment. Did it give me joy? Yeah. So why was not enough?
And I remember seeing, or just when I witnessed that, I think that's why I really enjoy watching certain performances when people just give it their all, and you can tell they're having a blast at it. Like, I don't know about pitches or anything with music, but when I literally can feel when someone's so present and joyful for what they're doing, that for me is like, oh yes, more of that. And I've
Yeah.
been moved to tears for that. Like when I see someone really stepping in, whether it's a sport or just anything, but it's like, wow, because there's an energy there about them choosing that for them. That's really, um, I don't know, I guess a gift to me when I witness it, because it reminds me that, you know, there's a sense of living when we choose that. So, uh,
What imagine what the world would be like if everyone liked themselves and were willing to share their gift with the world.
it reminds me one time, I think it was Dr. Dane here who said, he's all, well, Sylvia, what are you hiding? And I was like, well, that I don't like people. And he's so, is it really you don't like people, or you just don't really care about their judgments? And I thought, oh, that's it. But that was the first time I could acknowledge, it's like, oh, I like me. I enjoy me. But yeah, it's a different world. It's having that. So what would it be like if more of us, like you, and the part about with warts and all, because I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I think one of the things that I know
I
is that I
think you're pretty close.
That's a good laugh. But where I put my attention on is more the play and the joyful and the possibilities in my world. So you're right. When things stink and not working, it's like, okay, they're there. And some I know I'm burying under the carpet as much as I can, but that doesn't take away from me liking me.
Mm,
And that part about the warts and all. So it's like, wow, if we could receive all of that. And all of a sudden there's this like whoop energy of like, oh, that part
mm.
that I'm hiding or not willing to show.
What's your favorite part about facilitating right voice?
When I kick off my shoes, just like I tell everyone, I go, once my shoes come off, oh my,
It's
there is,
business
it's business time. There is a level of play that I think I've always desired out in the world. And, being out in the world, going through school, like there was always the sense like you had to be, somehow the form and the structure of a student or whatever it was. And the gift of coming to Access, when I first met Dr. Dane, I was like, oh my God, you can be that crazy and still somehow make sense. I was so grateful. It was like, oh, I don't have to have everything in sequence and in order. And
time.
so then having right voice, I think that's it. Like I get to use my whole body and invite other people to have that too with that play, and then feel their whole world relax so
Mm,
that then they can be up on stage and have an engagement of any topic that and I know it continues and goes out in the world, so I get to see these people then creating and choosing different things in their life that for them wasn't possible before. So
mm.
that
That's
yeah.
so cool.
What about you?
Yeah, I love watching people change. I love watching people come to a level of peace with who they are
Mm,
and stop trying to get it right. And like, we uh, so many people have like crafted this shield
mm,
that looks like them to like present to the world this image of who they think they're supposed to be palatable to others. And when they start to let that go and actually shine forth as just them, to me that's what it's about.
yeah, that is. And I'm so grateful, Chris, because you, with Right Voice, you've actually taken this lead. With now, you facilitate us with the training, the Right Voice for You training. So we have people all around the world that come to these classes that then will go out in the world to facilitate them. And you have one coming up in Mexico City, and
Yay!
wow.
In a cool theater.
Yes, it's not often. I mean, you do a lot of theater classes, but I've never actually, well, that's not true. Years ago, I think I went to one theater, but it's a whole different energy to have the theater.
It scares the shit out of people when you're like, get up on stage and there's lights on them and they're on the stage and they're like, and like you said before, the reason why I love that is it's not because it's about getting it right and giving a great performance. It's getting them to go, oh wow,
Mm,
this this scares me. So why? What about it is scary? And if it wasn't, what if I had no point of view about this and just let it rip? It's
yes.
so much fun.
And I just thought of a gentleman that had come to one class and he seemed super shy, like really quiet. And I thought, this guy, I wonder if he's getting anything out of the class. He later shows up speaking Spanish and English, interviewing, another colleague of us, friend Simone Melis's in English. And I'm going, this is the same guy? But he had this presence, and I thought, oh wow, like we might not have any idea really what goes out into the world for every single person that has come through a Right Voice for You class. It's like, so, and I mean, I know, but these tools, they weave through every area of your life, financially, business, family, all conversations. Like it's not just when I'm on the stage, it really is all those conversations. So beautiful.
Yeah. So
So
that class is in April in Mexico. I'm so excited. I love Mexico City. There's something available there that is so different. And the last few years we've done this class in Italy, and I was like, no, it's time for change. I really wanted to honor like the growth of Access and particularly the Right Voice in Latin America. So I was like, let's do it there and let those people have this. And anyone can come who is a certified facilitator of Access. If you want to be a Right Voice certified facilitator, you've got to come live. But any other certified facilitators can attend online.
mhm. And for all of you that may not be a certified facilitator yet, maybe in the future, but for now, you can find facilitators all around the world. There's intro classes, there's 3-day classes, there's many ways you guys can begin to play with these tools and see what that changes for you. And, Chris, you have had a recent invitation to us as facilitators like, wow, what can we bring out in the world with these tools? Because they're so different. They're so different and they have a level of ease and play that what would it be like? So I haven't actually messaged you privately or in our chat, but I'm looking to shift a couple more things to actually be a part of leading that with you in some way. So
Hey,
yeah, so it's on recording now.
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So thank you for joining me, Chris. Thank you so much. And everybody who stayed with us throughout this. Just the conversation of going, wow, what miracles are you creating? And if you let the world know, what would that change? So enjoy the rest of your day, Chris. Anything else you'd like to say before we go?
I just want everyone to know how cool they are.
Yeah,
Am I crazy? I
yeah,
am crazy, but
you are.
also
You're crazy, and I love it. Yeah, it would be a different planet if every single person knew that. So we hope you have a little more of that after this conversation. Thank you so much, Chris. We will see you soon in Mexico City.
yay!
Yay! Hasta pronto. Ciao.
Hasta pronto. Ciao.